Hey, it's about that time. Yes, thank you for joining our Let's Just Talk About It podcast. We are here to do just that, talk about it. This is the premier place to have a listening ear to some amazing topics and discussions, phenomenal guests that will push you to consider the power of change. Yup. What's change got to do with it? A whole lot, my people. Nothing is off the table. Y'all ready? Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Let's Just Talk About It, Instagram at Dr. K. Mischele Watson, and on Twitter, Dr. K. Mischele Watson. I absolutely know you're going to enjoy our time. So let's get straight into it. Good, great day. Welcome back to Let's Just Talk About It. I'm your host, Dr. K. Mischele Watson, and change is what I do. And you know how excited I get. So this podcast is designed to talk about things that make a difference to help. And sometimes we answer the why questions with solutions, and sometimes we're left scratching our heads. But one thing I do know is that the more times than not, you can be changed beyond the challenge if you really want to. So I want you to stay with me for the next few minutes as I like to start my podcast with a heart of thankfulness to the amazing people who helped to make this podcast possible. I want to thank my production team and producer, Kratos Media, and our intro-outro music by none other than Dr. Ronnie Song of August Child Media Productions. So glad this phenomenal team works with me. And I want to welcome you as I am so delighted to have you join me tonight and listen in. You already know how I do it as we simply just talk about it. And tonight, we will not disappoint. Y'all ready? You know I love to say that. So over the last few weeks, it's been both you and I, but in upcoming episodes, many of my amazing guests will help to see things through a different lens and focus on the change that will make a difference for a lifetime. There is something to love when we think of being changed beyond the challenge. And I know we be facing some challenges. But before we start, I like to read and encourage a note from some of my affirmations. And it says, my thoughts and seeds of positivity, and I plant them in the fertile soil of optimism, welding them when bloomed into success. Yes, hope you're encouraged. And in this episode, I'm proposing a question. Are married women single mothers? Yep, I said it. Are married women single mothers? Now listen, when I heard someone mention this, immediately I said to self, let's just talk about it. And I could relate. And I've seen this way too many times. So let me just say, a married woman can be considered a married single mom if she feels like she is raising her children on her own, even though she is married. And this isn't unique. I want you to know this. So if you're wondering, yeah, it happens more often than you think. And it can happen when a spouse doesn't contribute to the household of parenting responsibilities. And I describe this situation when one parent usually, and more often the woman, has more responsibilities than the other spouse. Now, whether this happens in non-heterosexual relationships is, honey, beyond me. But I'll find out and let you know. But this term, married single mom, has not been short of controversial. Right? Because people buy into the traditionalism of what they think marriage is and lose it when it doesn't work out that way. Now, I've also heard some say that the term shouldn't be used for married women who receive, little or no financial support from their spouse. Others, might say comparing a married woman with a partner to a single mother is really unfair to single mothers. But does it matter? If both are lacking the full responsibility required to raise a child or children? I remember Hillary Clinton saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And honey, she was not lying. I'm a woman that loves data. Now, data for me speaks volumes. And research tells me that while 21% of all mothers were single mothers in 2023, 47% of Black mothers and 25% of Hispanic mothers were single. Yep. And actually, another recent report from the U.S. Census Bureau revealed that 60% of new moms in their early 20s are unmarried. I was one of those statistics. I later married when I was in my early 20s, maybe around 24, and I divorced around 55 years old, right? So long time, about 32 plus years. Now I'm going to take 10 steps further and say this happens again more often than you want to know. And some would argue that it's actually worse than just being single. And some even say that at least when they were single, they could focus on themselves and their children. But married single mothers have to deal with the stress of seeing another grown adult every day not helping and thinking just providing possibly the financial means is enough. Well, let me tell you, sis, it is not enough. And from somebody who has been on both sides of the aisle, I know sometimes we set the bar so high that we want to be super women and we want to do it all. We want to bring home the bacon and fry it up in a pan. But there are just some things that leave us exhausted, needing therapy and a whole lot of other things. And sometimes, I think, can we do it all? Can we be married, work a full-time job, cook, clean, attend PTA meetings, volunteering, taking the kids on trips. The list goes on. But I want to tell you, we don't have to be superwomen. And we don't have to live in life, that is unbalanced. For me personally, my kids all grew up and the pressure became less. But I remember it well. Now, I have to admit, my ex did help with our children. And I probably would have blown the freaking gasket had he not helped. But I know so many women, so many married women whose spouses don't help and refuse to. And that leaves the wife, the mother, stressing to do it all. And that's out of order. Now, there could also be married single dads. But married single moms are in a higher abundance. So they're the focus of this podcast today. Now, the more I thought about it, the more I felt that the sting of those being in such a situation is so real. And y'all, that hurts. And it hurts single moms and it hurts married moms, no matter how you slice it. For either woman who does most of the parenting. And here's why. And a couple of things on how to handle it. So I said, what's the right way to respond to something like this? Well, the wrong way is to just say, let's just keep going. Don't talk about it, with your spouse. But you need to talk about it with your spouse and your partner because frustration, bitterness, and anger will grow faster than you can catch up. And I'm not going to say just pray about it. Because while prayer can change things, that alone is not going to address where you are. Nor will lashing out, being angry. But instead, I want you to make time with your spouse, with your partner, to share your heart. Encourage therapy and develop a workable plan. Now, if none of that works, then you have a bigger discussion to make, or a bigger decision to make. Is married the goal, or is partnering with your spouse the goal in raising your children? You have to ask yourself that and answer the tough questions for yourself. Now, there is so much more to talk about, but that's all I got for you tonight. I want you to check us out for part two next week. And I want to thank you for joining me. Y'all be blessing my life. You've got to come back and listen in And don't forget to share my podcast with a friend. I want you to subscribe and know that change in any situation has to be your only option. I want you to remove all other possibilities. So there's so much more in store as we simply just talk about it. I'm so encouraged, and I hope you are, to be changed beyond the challenge. Again, join us next week, same day, same time, as we have another phenomenal discussion for you on our married women, single mothers. You don't want to miss it. Again, if you're new to my podcast, make sure you subscribe on YouTube and catch us on Facebook and other social media platforms. I'll see you next week. This is Dr. K. Mischele Watson. Grace and peace to you. Well, everyone, that's all we got time for right now, but we'll keep the conversations moving and topics flowing. Join us for a new episode every Sunday at 8 p.m. for Let's Just Talk About It. Don't miss it, and don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. We'll always have a little something for you if you do. I'm your host, Dr. K. Mischele Watson, and I'll see you on our next episode. Be blessed.